Breaking news, some upsetting news.
Actor Catherine O'Hara.
Icon Catherine O'Hara.
That emergency services were called to her home in Brentwood.
Shocking and heartbreaking news heard around Hollywood.
After her sudden death at the age of 71.
January 30th, 2026. The world woke up to devastating news.
Again, we have some breaking news and sad news from the entertainment world.
Catherine O'Hara, the woman who made millions laugh for 6 decades, was gone.
Multiple reports are saying that Canadian television and film star Catherine O'Hara has died.
She died at her home in Los Angeles following a brief illness. She was 71 years old. But this isn't a story about an ending. This is a story about a life lived in service of joy.
If I have to sell my soul to the devil himself.
From a comedy troupe in Toronto to the brightest stages of Hollywood, Catherine O'Hara didn't just entertain us. She transformed how we understood comedy itself. She played characters who were cartoonishly larger than life, somehow deeply, recognizably human.
Mom, Uncle Frank won't let me watch the movie, but the big kids can. Why can't I?
Kevin, I'm on the phone.
Theatrically vain, yet ultimately endearing. And through it all, she reminded us of something essential, that laughter is love made audible.
Emmy-winning actress, her iconic roles. Tonight here, we look back at her extraordinary career.
Act 1, The Toronto Years, where it all began. March 4th, 1954. Toronto, Ontario. Catherine Ann O'Hara is born into a big, boisterous Irish Catholic family, the 6th of 7 children. Growing up in that household meant chaos, laughter, and competition for attention. Catherine learned early, if you wanted to be heard, you had to be funny. Her childhood was filled with theatrics. Her father would dress up as Santa, ringing the doorbell on Christmas Eve while the kids screamed with excitement. Her mother would hand out fresh pajamas, and the children would lie awake, eyes wide open, too thrilled to sleep. Years later, Catherine would recreate this exact tradition with her own sons. 1974. At just 20 years old, Catherine joins Toronto's legendary Second City improv troupe. It was her university, her boot camp, her home. She learned everything there: writing, scene structure, character development, improvisation. And she met a group of people who would change comedy forever. John Candy, Eugene Levy, Rick Moranis, Andrea Martin, Martin Short. Together, they were young, hungry, and fearless. 1976. SCTV launches Second City Television, Canada's answer to Saturday Night Live. While Catherine was originally an understudy for Gilda Radner, she quickly became irreplaceable in her own right. Her impressions were legendary: Katharine Hepburn, Lucille Ball, Tammy Faye Baker, Brooke Shields, Meryl Streep. But it wasn't just mimicry. It was precision. Catherine didn't just copy celebrities. She found the absurdity beneath the glamour, the humanity beneath the performance. Her original characters, Lola Heatherton, the over-the-top lounge singer, and Dusty Town, the washed-up country star, became instant classics. 1982. Catherine wins her first Emmy for Outstanding Writing. She was just 28 years old, and Hollywood was watching. Act 2, Hollywood Calls. The film years. The 1980s. Catherine O'Hara was ready for her close-up. After leaving SCTV in 1983, a move one journalist called a massive loss, she moved to Los Angeles. Not for fame, for love. 1987. The set of Beetlejuice. Catherine arrived to play Delia Dietz, the pretentious, art-obsessed stepmother in Tim Burton's Gothic comedy. But she also met someone else, Bo Welch, the film's production designer. Bo talked to her every day, by the craft services table, by the trailers, like high school kids at their lockers. But he never asked her out. Frustrated, Catherine complained to director Tim Burton, "This guy talks to me constantly and never makes a move." Burton, playing matchmaker, told Bo to ask her out. When Bo finally invited her to a swap meet in Vermont during location shooting, Catherine joked, "It's like he'd been forced." But that awkward first date changed everything. They married in 1992. Tim Burton gave them a private tour of the Vatican as a wedding gift. "We were in the Pope's closet, looking at garments," Catherine later recalled with a laugh. "It was crazy." 1994. Catherine and Bo welcomed their first son, Matthew. 3 years later, Luke arrives. Catherine made a choice. Family came first. Always. "What's the point of having children if I'm not going to be with them?" she told an interviewer in 2020. Her sons, Matthew and Luke, would grow up largely out of the spotlight, working behind the scenes in set design, just like their father. But even as Catherine prioritized motherhood, her film career exploded. Beetlejuice became a cultural phenomenon. That legendary lip sync to Day-O at the dinner table, Catherine's panicked eyes told the whole story. 1990. Home Alone. As Kate McAllister, the frazzled mother who accidentally leaves her son behind on Christmas vacation, Catherine delivered one of cinema's most iconic performances. "Kevin!" That single scream became one of the most recognizable lines in film history. Her desperate, chaotic journey back to Kevin, begging, bribing, hitchhiking with a polka band, was both hilarious and heartbreaking. The film became the highest-grossing comedy of all time. 1993. Catherine voiced Sally in Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, a role that introduced her to a whole new generation. But perhaps her most important collaborations came with director Christopher Guest. Waiting for Guffman, 1996. Best in Show, 2000. A Mighty Wind, 2003. For Your Consideration, 2006. These mockumentaries reunited Catherine with Eugene Levy and a troupe of brilliant improvisers. In Best in Show, as Cookie Fleck, a dog show competitor who keeps running into her former lovers, Catherine was pure comedic gold. The chemistry between her and Levy was undeniable. They'd been friends since Second City. They trusted each other completely. And they were about to create something extraordinary. Act 3, The Moira Rose Years. A Career Renaissance. 2015. Catherine O'Hara was 61 years old. Most actresses her age were being pushed aside, offered grandmother roles, or forgotten entirely. Then Dan Levy, Eugene's son, called with an idea. A riches-to-rags sitcom about a wealthy family forced to live in a tiny town they'd bought as a joke. Would Catherine play the mother? She said yes, and Moira Rose was born. Moira Rose was unlike any character on television. A former soap opera star, theatrical, self-absorbed, wearing couture in a roadside motel. But beneath the wigs and the exaggerated mid-Atlantic accent, a woman rediscovering herself. Take 1,000 pictures of yourself. I'd kill for a good coma right now. Bibi, not baby. Bibi. Catherine pored through old vocabulary books, Moira-izing the dialogue even further than what was written. Words like fripette, pettifogging, and unasinus became part of pop culture. But Moira wasn't just a punchline. She was real. Her relationship with Johnny, played by Eugene Levy, showed a marriage tested by loss but strengthened by love. Her journey from narcissistic diva to supportive mother was gradual, earned, and deeply moving. Catherine found comedy in every moment, whether terrorizing her children with bizarre advice or directing a hilariously pretentious local production of Cabaret. By the time Schitt's Creek ended in 2020, it had become a cultural phenomenon. The final season swept the Emmys, winning all 7 comedy categories, a record. Catherine won Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series. In her acceptance speech, she thanked Dan and Eugene Levy for the opportunity to play a woman of a certain age, my age, who gets to fully be her ridiculous self. She also won a Golden Globe, multiple Canadian Screen Awards, and the hearts of millions. A new generation discovered Catherine O'Hara. Young people who'd never seen SCTV or Beetlejuice fell in love with Moira Rose. Social media exploded with Moira quotes, GIFs, and Halloween costumes. Catherine, always beloved, became a full-blown icon. Act 4, the final chapter, Legacy and Loss. After Schitt's Creek, Catherine didn't slow down. She reprised her role as Delia Dietz in Beetlejuice, 36 years after the original. Tim Burton, her old friend, welcomed her back. So did Michael Keaton, and so did her husband Beau, who worked on both films. She took on dramatic roles too, appearing in HBO's acclaimed dystopian series The Last of Us, showing a different side of her talent. And in 2025, she joined the Apple TV Plus comedy The Studio, playing a movie executive alongside Seth Rogen. It earned her another Emmy nomination, proof that even at 70, Catherine O'Hara was still at the top of her game. January 5th, 2025. The Golden Globes. Catherine appeared on the red carpet with Beau, radiant and elegant. No one knew it would be one of her final public appearances. January 30th, 2026. Catherine O'Hara died at her Los Angeles home following a brief illness. The details remain private. Her family, Beau, Matthew, and Luke, are grieving away from the public eye, as Catherine would have wanted. The tributes poured in immediately. Pedro Pascal, her co-star in The Last of Us, wrote, "Oh, genius to be near you, eternally grateful. There is less light in my world." Dan Levy called her irreplaceable. Eugene Levy said simply, "My friend, my partner, my family." Fans around the world shared their favorite Moira quotes, their memories of watching Home Alone every Christmas, their gratitude for a woman who made them laugh when they needed it most. In 2023, when asked what she wanted her legacy to be, Catherine laughed and said, "I want my kids to love me, that's all." But her legacy is so much more. Act 5. What she taught us. Catherine O'Hara taught us that comedy is an art form, that absurdity and humanity can coexist beautifully, that women of a certain age deserve it to be ridiculous, complicated, and fully themselves. She played ditzy mothers and pretentious artists, washed-up singers and soap opera stars. But she never played them with cruelty. There was always love beneath the laughter. She taught us about loyalty, working with the same collaborators for 50 years because trust and friendship matter more than fame. She taught us about priorities, choosing family over red carpets, love over ambition. She taught us that people can change, grow, and soften without losing what makes them special. But most of all, Catherine O'Hara taught us to laugh, not at people. With them, to find joy in the ridiculous, to embrace our own eccentricities, to live fully, loudly, and without apology. She made comedy look effortless, but it never was. Every line was considered. every gesture intentional, every moment crafted with care. She was a master of her craft, and she deserved every standing ovation she ever received. Closing. The final curtain. January 30th, 2026. The curtain fell, but the laughter remains. Every Christmas, families will still watch Home Alone. They'll still cheer when Kate finally makes it home to Kevin. New viewers will still discover Schitt's Creek and fall in love with Moira Rose's wigs, her wine, and her wisdom. Comedy students will still study SCTV, learning from Catherine's timing, her commitment, her fearlessness. Children will still hear her voice as Sally, singing about what might have been. Catherine O'Hara didn't just leave us films and television shows. She left us permission to be weird, to be loud, to be ourselves. She left us joy, pure, uncomplicated, contagious joy. She left us love in every laugh, every line, every moment she shared. Some performers chase immortality. Catherine O'Hara earned it simply by being herself. Share your favorite Catherine O'Hara memory in the comments. How did she make you laugh? How did she touch your life? Subscribe to remember the legends who shaped our world.